about 10 minutes off my speech.
That was the plan.
He knew I'd get to rambling too long. Like I said, I'm Wes Ford. I'm from Carrollton. Don't venture out much other than I cross the river once a month to come share these presentations with like-minded folks. Very fortunate for that. I'm a father of four, ranging in ages from 3 to 25. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Along with my better half, Angie, we run multiple businesses.
Wes, stay close to the microphone or put it in your hand if you would.
Where was I? I'm going to give thanks, give a few thank yous right now. Get that out of the way real quick. I want to thank God for giving me the ability and opportunity to be around folks like you, like-minded people that share the same values and respect the Constitution. I want to thank Tom and Kathy and the Packard board for inviting me to give this speech. It's probably going to sound more like a rant than a speech, because I get pretty heated about it. That it's a topic nobody covers. They sidestep, like Tom explained, that they sidestep it every time. Thank you to Thompson's for letting us use this venue. And again, everybody in attendance, everybody in here is a producer. Everyone's a hard-working conservative, and it takes finance to take the time out of your busy schedule to be here, and that means a lot to me. I mean, it shows how important the meetings like this are. Speaking out about things that matter. Short background, I've been a client of the Blue Horse Veterinary Hospital for the better part of 20 years. Tom and Kathy kind of took me under their wing, kind of mentored me throughout the years. They've become very close friends. Every time Tom and I would line up across the exam table, Kathy'd run in and throw the file down and said, "You boys saved the world now," over your conversations. So our conversations would go from everything from politics to health. He would drop small hints about faith, which I'm pretty simple-minded. It took me a while him beating that into my head to get that through to me. But he could tell over the years I was always laser focused on finances and the financial system and trying to create wealth. One conversation 10 years ago, I remember vividly, I just couldn't wrap my head around the idea of an agency that was outside the United States government that controlled our financial system and how it operated, and the interest rates and the creation of money. And they have a target of inflating our money by 2% each year. And I was going over and over with it, and he said, "You're going to go crazy stressing over that." Little did he know I was already crazy, so I just continued to be laser focused on that aspect of our financial system. Like he mentioned, I've been coming to these meetings faithfully for quite a while. I often try to bait the speakers, whether it be a politician, a lobbyist, whoever, whatever they're wanting from us as a group of people, their motive. I would try to question and bait them into giving their thoughts and their perspective of the United States financial system and how it operated. And it always gets sidestepped. No one ever goes in depth about money. So Tom, like he said, you just need to speak about it. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not super wealthy. I'm just a simple dude that pays attention to what's going on, and have from a very early age. I understand value and where value is and where it isn't. I can see through. I can find value in things. I correlated at a very young age, I would get the opportunity to help my dad. He would sell firewood after he got off work. So when I got off the school bus, I had the chance. He said, you know, if you can get that trailer loaded full of firewood, and when I get home, we hook up to it, and we go deliver it, and you stack it for the customer, you get $5. I understood immediately that if I could provide a desired outcome, it would provide me with an income. That, again, it sounds real simple. But moving forward, my first job, a paycheck job, I'll call it, at 12, a few days before I was 12, I started working full-time for a neighbor. And I knew the value I provided for them. I knew the hourly wage. And I had calculated what my check was going to be. And when I got it, it was about half. Due to the taxes and everything that was robbed from me, as I felt at that time, and I still do. I still feel that taxation is theft. So you've never seen a madder 12-year-old in your life in that day. So again, the value. I feel the value lies in our God-given skills, our abilities, our knowledge, to provide that desired outcome for one another, to help one another, and hopefully earn an income from that. I think as a whole, our nation has been browbeat down to, they've lost their sense of value. People have lost the sense of value that they provide for others. It has been, it's not stressed enough. It's not focused on enough. And the real unpopular statement for tonight is that a lot of us here are worried about who's going to be elected, whether it's in the White House or Senate or whatever. And it doesn't matter what political party or what candidate is elected until we fix who's really in control, and that's the world central banks and the Federal Reserve. I think everybody in this room has one thing in common, and that's the reason you're here most nights that you show up here, is that you're concerned about the loss of our freedoms. But the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, worship the God you want. But the one thing that the entire nation has in common, whether you're Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, black, white, we all have in common that we have to transact in the U.S. dollar and take part in the financial system that's set before us. We have to follow those rules, no matter how far they inflate the rules away. Through this very financial system, this is the root cause of where our freedoms are stolen at the highest level. Our freedom is robbed, it is stolen through unneeded tax, and especially the invisible tax, inflation. If you haven't felt the effects of inflation by now, you're living on another planet. One thing most people don't understand and have never taken the time to realize that the financial system we operate under is a debt-based economy. The economy that we know and that we all transact in is all debt-based. It has to perpetually create debt to keep the gears going. If they were to halt debt, to freeze credit, the way of life as we know it is over. It would become Mad Max scenario for you, those of you familiar with that movie. It would be an apocalyptic situation. But I want to get to, Tom told me to cut to the chase, get to the point. We need to talk about the future. We need to focus on the issues we have right in front of us. But we need to give a short history lesson on the financial system. Most Americans don't know the difference between money and currency. There is a difference. Money has value. The monetary system goes back as far as biblical times, like trading gold coins, silver coins for whatever. That you couldn't always take a full cow and trade for a certain amount of eggs or whatever the case may be. So the monetary system evolved from that. Eventually, it was easier to put a paper currency to it that in turn became a fiat currency, which means it has no value. It doesn't represent any value. And every civilization, every country that has had a fiat currency has inflated it away. Given enough time, their currency becomes worthless. This is all powered by the Federal Reserve. A lot of people, I don't think that a lot of folks in America take enough time to step back and really understand how inflation works. Angie helps me with anytime I try to speak, and she helps me because I'm not real good at it, as you can tell. But she said, I just don't understand where inflation comes from and how it works. And she's a coffee junkie. Like if she doesn't get her coffee in the morning, the world's over. I mean, you don't want to come around. I don't know if anybody else has that same problem. They got to have that first cup of coffee. Well, I made her realize that what inflation means. If I have one cup, the only cup of coffee in Marshall, Missouri, let's say, it's going to be a pretty valuable cup of coffee. Everybody's going to want it. It's going to be pretty valuable. Well, if a semi-truck pulls up trailer load full of cups of hot coffee, that one cup of coffee she had is no longer valuable. Through a debt-based economy, the Federal Reserve is able to create debt with no limit. So every dollar you have in your pocket, all the money you have in the bank, you think you have in the bank, it is continually losing value when more is added to the system. So the debt-based economy ensures that your money is going to be inflated away. It is losing purchasing power every time new debt is created. They also have a policy of a 2% target. Every year, the Federal Reserve wants to hit 2%. Well, since it was created in 1913, so do the math on that, folks. That's 113 years of trying to hit 2%. The dollar has lost 98% of its purchasing power since its inception, since the inception of the Federal Reserve. And back to people not knowing or not understanding, not wanting to know, you can kind of compare this to Roman times. During the Roman times, the people in charge wanted to stay in charge, and they wanted to keep the peasants and the slaves that way. They took part in what they called coin cutting. They would shave a little bit off of each coin, melting that down, creating new coins, adding to the money supply. That in turn inflated their money. It finally inflated it away. But they were kept satisfied by a time called, that you may have heard of, the bread and circus. They kept the bread lines open, kept their people fed, kept the Coliseum doors open. They had endless food, endless entertainment. They were oblivious to what was going on with their purchasing power of their coin, of their currency. And that's kind of where America's at. It's very comparable right now. More folks can tell you how many yards Patrick Mahomes passed for than where our monetary system was created and how it works. They're staring at a phone, and I mean, look at Chiefs Stadium. If that's not a coliseum, I don't know what is. If you're hungry, get on welfare, you can become obese. It's very comparable. We're being blinded by entertainment. The book, you need to get the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. You got it, Vicki?
Yes, dear, I have.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm not telling you anything. I can't get anything over on this lady. She's so smart. It explains the Federal Reserve the best. It was created in secret.
Please say the name of the book.
The Creature from Jekyll Island, written by Edward G. Griffin. And if you make it through that book and you're not pissed off about our financial system, call me. I'll get you there. This book explains that in 1913, the world's richest men gathered and tried to figure out a way to stay that way, stay on top of the world through wealth. They got on a train car. They used aliases. They were going on a supposed duck hunt to Jekyll Island in Jackson Hole. They even changed train cars on their trip to stay fully disguised from what they were actually doing. With the support of Congress, they convinced Congress that it had to be done for the well-being, to keep the American public working, keep them safe, keep them fed. We had to have this agency that was a separate entity that could control the finances for everyone's benefit. It's always for your benefit, right? Everything good comes for you. We're doing it for your good. Whatever happened to us doing what's good for us, being sovereign individuals and being able to take care of ourselves and each other, not having to be dictated by an agency. Again, I'll stress, the Federal Reserve is not federal and it has zero reserves. The only product it has is debt. We get burdened with the debt, and we also get to pay the interest on the debt through taxes and inflation. Their goal is to be the lender and buyer of last resort, to own it all. We own nothing and we're happy. That is the goal of the world central banks, most namely the Federal Reserve. After World War II, in 1944, America had obtained, let's say, most of the world's gold. Whether they stole it or not, that's up for debate. The Bretton Woods Conference, 14 countries got together. They decided that the U.S. dollar, the U.S. was the strongest militarily, industrially, financially. They decided that the U.S. dollar should be the world reserve currency. Since then, America has enjoyed the fruits of this privilege of being the world reserve currency. But for the Federal Reserve to hit the goal of its end goal, there's not enough gold reserved to back up the debt that they wanted to spread throughout the world. So in 1971, Richard Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. We became the petrodollar. In conjunction with OPEC nations, we provided them protection, but in return, they had every ounce of oil had to be settled in the U.S. dollar. So that flooded the world with a need for more U.S. dollars. We have enjoyed and somewhat abused this privilege of being the world reserve currency. Also in 1971, you might call it a coincidence, Klaus Schwab, has anybody ever heard of that demon? That was the same year, within a month, he went to Davos and created the World Economic Forum. Probably just a coincidence,
Yeah.
I'd say. So, at that point, the US dollar, the petrodollar, is a fiat currency. Again, remember that 2% inflation target that the Fed has for our currency. How long does it take before we run out of rope on this deal? I mean, when is the dollar worth nothing?
Real close.
We're real close, you're right. We're real close. We have exported our inflation, sending it around the world. What we pay other countries our worthless dollar and get their goods in return. The rest of the world's tired of it. They're tired of our worthless currency and sending us goods. But let's get to the now. What's going on now? When we're on the cusp of losing the world reserve currency status, the Federal Reserve will probably try to usher in a one world currency. They'll go to war. There's been wars fought. If you get down to the root of a lot of the wars, it was to defend the world reserve currency status. Other countries they're tired of being bullied by the US dollar and it not having the value that they're providing for us. They'll probably try to go to war, create conflict with the BRICS nations. I don't know if anybody, if you're not familiar with the BRICS nations and what's going on there. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America, Saudi Arabia, and many other countries are devising their own gold-backed currency. They're cornering the energy market. They're cornering oil production. The world is Saudi Arabia accepts whatever they decide. That we don't have to settle oil trade in the U.S. dollar any longer. There's no more of the constant need for the dollar like there once was when it was the petrodollar. The biggest threat, though, to what we all have in this room tonight, the fear of losing freedoms, that's the digital currency. And I foresee it playing out probably, again, for your safety. They'll say our cash money is, it's not handy to use anymore. It may spread COVID, whatever it may be. Bring it in 30 days and we'll give you 110% of the value of it in a digital currency, in FedCoin, in central bank digital currency. And this won't be just a United States. This won't be a national thing. This will be a world central bank digital currency. That will be the end of freedom as we know it. Absolutely the end of sovereignty. You won't be able to pay your neighbor kid in cash to mow your yard. You won't be able to purchase anything privately. You won't be able to, and it will be programmable. Ask the Canadian truckers. You shut off your bank account. Part of our freedom comes from our financial sovereignty. When it's programmable and it's a digital currency controlled by the Federal Reserve, they may find out we're all coming to the Pachyderm Club meetings and think we're some right-wing extremists and shut off our digital currency, our bank accounts. So it can happen overnight, folks. I just want everybody to be prepared. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't claim to be an expert, but I just wish more people would be prepared for what's to come, what could be more than likely coming down the pipe at us. It's controlled through currency. If it turns digital, we're already being controlled through the excessive taxation and inflation. It's time we wake up, and the only solutions I see out of this is it's going to be rough and it's going to be ugly. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be what we're used to. But we have to get back to a value-based monetary system. We got to get out of this debt bubble. There is a debt bubble so large that if it pops, it could create death on a biblical scale. And y'all think I'm probably just throwing out scare tactics, but I'm telling you, it's a real thing, and nobody gives enough attention to it. Again, we're too busy worrying about what time the Chiefs play or staring at a cell phone. It's disgusting that more people in higher positions cannot explain what their theories are on our financial system, or what they plan to do about it to make it a value-based system, rather than just over and over and over taxing us to death. It's taking the incentive away from producers. What we have to produce to give to non-producers through the financial system, that's socialism. Taken from one, given to another that aren't producing anything, that's socialism. I don't think anybody here wants that. I told you I get worked up about this. But we got to make government small again. I mean, it's bloated, it's obese, it's disgusting. It's a bunch of do-nothings. We're out here working our butts off every day. From being little children, we've worked and worked and worked. And these folks are just blowing our money like it grows on trees. And we can't keep up with the interest. It's impossible. It's mathematically impossible to keep up with what's going on right now. We got to go to a flat tax. Put the incentive back in people. Hey, the more you make, the more you keep. How about that? What's wrong with that? You work harder, you get more of it. I don't know how anybody can argue that. We have to abolish the Federal Reserve for one. Again, not federal, no reserves. It shouldn't have any. What do we have? 10 rate hikes in 6 months, wasn't it? It's completely turned the economy upside down. And that is not going to slow down inflation. That will not, no matter what they tell you, that's not going to slow down inflation. The only way to slow down inflation is to stop printing money, quit creating debt, make the banks hold reserves. We're not even a fractional reserve system anymore, folks. It used to be if I gave the bank $10, they could loan out 9 of it. Now it's infinite. They don't have to have any reserves. Our current economic system is summed up in one word, and it's unsustainable. So I want you guys to be prepared. You need to have some hard assets. I don't care what you think of hard assets, whatever you consider it. A lot of people think of gold, silver. I think of food, water, ammunition, because I'm telling you right now, if they turn off, if they do a credit freeze, which is a very high possibility, you're going to need it. You're not going to be able to eat that gold or silver. I mean, you can, I guess, if you got tough teeth. And let's just realize that, again, the value is not in a paper currency. The value lies in you and I, and what we can provide for one another, and what we can do for each other, how we can provide for each other. The biggest thing we can provide, the most important thing we can provide, is making damn sure we can provide prosperity and freedom to future generations without putting them into debt slavery that they didn't ask for. They didn't sign up for that. That's all I've got tonight, folks.
Wes, you managed to make the Holocaust look like a good thing.
I told you I get passionate.
Anybody have any questions for Wes? Yes, coming right back to you.
Kind of comment on what you said, but, so I've heard that Saudi Arabia has already agreed to sell oil to whoever they want to, whoever. they'll
Months
take
ago.
whatever money.
Months ago.
Yeah, they'll take whatever money, not dollars, not our petrodollars.
Absolutely.
So this is happening.
It's happening.
And also, did Biden pass a executive order to start getting us to digital currency?
It's running through the government now. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
By the way, you got me fired.
I wish somebody gets fired up as I do about it.
All right, Tom Ward here.
Yeah, Wes, I appreciate your passion for all this financial stuff. There's a FedNow website. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Everybody could go to that and you can get an idea of just what's coming down the road.
It tells it in plain print what's gonna happen.
And
If
just
we're-
Google FedNow.gov, I believe.
Yeah, the Fed coin, Fed now, it's all out there for us to know. Like I said, everybody's too busy scrolling Facebook. They've got us numb to what's going on.
Coming back there.
What's the best way to prepare for something like this, Wes?
That's a broad question. That, to me, to prepare for something like this, that is it's going to completely end freedom worldwide. America is the last place that really has what we consider freedom. Even though as limited as our freedom actually is when we break it down, it's the only place that is as free as it is now. So we have to educate everyone, especially the youth, on the financial system. We have been purposely lied to by the education system, by our government, by our financial system. We've been lied about how it works. I have conversations daily in my shop with men that are in their 60s that still think the dollar is backed by gold. So to prepare, the best way to prepare is to be educated. That's why the Pachyderm Club is so important. You leave here tonight and you talk about this to whoever will listen. Angie gets tired of me in the office. She's heard this speech 40 times, probably 400 times. Any customer that stands there long enough and brings it up, I'm going to talk this long about it, just to educate one person of how corrupt our financial system. It's all smoke and mirrors. If we all right now go to the bank, if we all bank at the same institution and we all want our money right now today in cash, it's not going to happen. So however you educate yourself to feel best prepared for the most, I guess I'm a prepper. I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. I want to have food, water, and security. There's nobody coming on my place and going to harm my family or take my food. Ammo.
I'm coming, Tom.
I'm waiting to, Hey, Wes, are you familiar with any of the recent legislation that they tried to pass in Texas to get a gold and silver backed depository for depositors' accounts? It failed, they didn't get it done, but it's kind of an exciting deal because the first state that does that, they're gonna have a big influx of people wanting to open up accounts. The way it works is the state authorizes the banks to back every depositor with gold, silver, precious metals. And they have the options. And then when they do their normal transactions, it's just drawn off of their actual hard assets in there. Like you go get a $100 tank of fuel, the vendor never knows it, you're not even aware of it, but when that transaction goes through, at that moment, there's a calculation of the market rate for gold. They determine what's in your account, they withdraw that $100 and electronically pay the vendor. Say you go out to dinner, an hour later, it's $100, they do the spot price again, gold went up, or maybe gold went down. But every transaction you do is backed by the hard currencies that you have with that depository. It's something Missouri legislators really need to try to mimic and get passed in this state.
Well, first, they have to accept gold and silver as legal tender again. Most states won't even accept it as legal tender. That's I think Tennessee, maybe Utah, Missouri, it was shot down. They're fighting for that. There's only like 3 or 4 states in the nation that you can still transact in gold and silver as legal tender. I mean, that's God's money. How can it be denied? Other than by an evil institution to control the world. It's controlled through currency, worthless currency.
Well, there's hope out there.
There is, and it starts with groups like this, talking about it.
Okay, Wes, thank you so much. Give him a hand. And Wes, you'll stay around and talk, won't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, okay, so I have 2 gentlemen here